So I want to talk about masculinity, femininity, and what true masculinity and true femininity are. But mostly masculinity today, because I think it's been understood, and I think it's misunderstood for like 20 years, 50 years, maybe longer, maybe ever, maybe forever. And I think I have a pretty good understanding of what true masculinity is. I think it needs to be balanced. And what is it? What is true masculinity? Is it a guy driving a car, big muscles, cigar, maybe drinking a beer, maybe have a lot of women in his truck? Is that true masculinity, or is it something else? So first things first. Okay, so here we have the yin yang symbol. I think masculinity and femininity both need to be balanced, and I think, let's say the black is masculinity, I think it needs, and the white is femininity. I think they both need a little bit of each other in them to be true. So masculinity needs a little bit of femininity, femininity needs a little bit of masculinity. And as you can see right here, I've made a little bit of a sketch about what I think is true and toxic. But even though toxic masculinity sounds foolish when I first heard it, and I think still it's misused. The term has been misused a lot of times. I think it still can be used in a way in which I agree with, and I will explain today what that is all about. So masculinity and femininity. Let's say you have a chart like this. This is true masculinity, toxic masculinity. This is less masculine, feminine, more feminine, true femininity, toxic femininity. Let me give an example. Maybe you have a male who is quite feminine. Maybe he would be around somewhere around here, and that's fine, there's nothing wrong with that. Let's say you have a male who's somewhere around here. Okay, he's more masculine, that's fine as well. Now let me tell you what I think the difference is between true and toxic. When you are toxic masculinity, I think you have no femininity in your balance. And what happens when this is the case? Well, before I come to that, I think we need to talk about what masculine traits are. I think they're courage, I think they're strength, bravery. That's the same as courage, but I think to know to do, to have the gut to do what must be done. And there are a lot of different aspects when it comes to masculinity, of course. Same goes for femininity. I think femininity is more about grace, about empathy, about perception, but we'll come to that in a second. So when you are truly masculine, I think you have the right balance. I think you have some grace, some empathy, some perception, and inside of your masculinity, inside your person. To be caring for others and to have empathy. But what people who are masculine without any femininity in their masculinity, the reason why they become toxic is because they don't have any empathy, they don't have any grace, and they don't have any perception, just to name a few of the feminine traits. And what happens with these males is they usually become very selfish. We know the abusive father who doesn't care for his wife or children, who has no compassion. And I believe this is because he doesn't have any feminine traits. As we just saw in the yin yang symbol, he lacks that femininity, and that's what makes him toxic. And a true masculine male has the right balance. Same goes for femininity. If you have a true feminine female, she has obviously the right amount of grace and compassion and empathy, perception, but also masculinity in forms of strength and courage. Now what happens when you have a toxic female? And also, just to clarify, I'm not 100% sure about this. I think there are different ways of being toxic for both the masculine and the feminine. But an example could be a female who's too compassionate, or too like the devouring mother, the mother who doesn't let her child play with others, or who doesn't let her child go outside. I'm not sure if this is truly toxic, but I think it's toxic might not be the right word for it, But let's say you have a female who is really agreeable, you know, and lets everyone walk over them. That's also not the right place to be. That person needs a little bit of masculinity in her to stand up for herself and to, you know, have a right balance. Right. Basically what I'm trying to say is, I think you have true masculinity, true femininity, and they both need some parts of each other to be balanced and to be in harmony together. I think it's not right if people only have femininity or only have masculinity or only have femininity, because then what happens is, as I just said, they lack certain traits which they need to be a wholly good person, good human being. So I think that's very misunderstood these days. I think it's very, you know, self-control is another thing that's so not necessarily misunderstood, but well, I'd say misunderstood when it comes to masculinity. You know, it's James Bond is a guy who seems some people find the most masculine man. Well, I quite disagree. You know, he drinks a lot of alcohol, he sleeps with random women. That's not masculine to me, because, you know, he doesn't even have self-control, you know. I think there are a lot of misunderstood concepts about masculinity, and the same probably goes for femininity. And I think this is a sort of guideline for us to be able to see, okay, we need to be balanced, we need to have a good amount of masculinity for a male, femininity for a female. And of course that doesn't have to be the case, you know. You can be a masculine female or a feminine man, that's fine. But I think what's important to have both, to have characteristics of both the feminine and the masculine, so that you can use these to not be walked over, but also not be selfish. But as I said, it's fine to be anywhere on the spectrum as long as you have traits of both of these. Because I think if you lack traits of one or the other, it can be, you know, not good in terms of your life experiences, because I think they're both quite important. That's what I'm trying to say. So that being said, I hope yeah, that can clarify some things about this, and maybe you learn something. Maybe you disagree. Please let me know what you think of this concept in the comments, and thank you for watching.